What is a land use zone? It's a good question, right? What makes up a zone? How does that work? I'm going to explain in this video what a land use zone is, in California at least, and what the four main parts of a land use zone are. Now, most of what I'm going to talk about today will apply across the United States, but this video is made specifically for California. So, what is a land use zone? We want to start with that question. A land use zone is a geographical area in which land use must follow a common set of rules. It's a pretty simple definition, right? Somebody sits down with a map, a land use regulator at the city or county level. They draw a boundary around a particular neighborhood, and they say, in this area, we're going to allow this kind of land use, and everybody that uses their land in this area has to follow this common set of rules. That's what a land use zone is. Okay, now, land use zones are typically assigned some kind of type, primary type, right? So in California, we typically have residential zones, commercial zones, ag zones, and industrial zones. Now, different places have different kinds of zones. You might have open space zones or, transit-oriented development zones or different things like that. But those are the basic four kinds of zones, right? Residential, commercial, ag, industrial, maybe open space you could throw in there as another kind of zone. Okay, so zones are typically assigned to type. So, for example, you might hear, if you're shopping for farmland, you might hear the term Ag 40 or Ag 20 or Ag 160. Okay, that means agricultural use. That's the type. And then usually the other part of the number is the minimum lot size. So 160 acres, 40 acres, 20 acres, 5 acres, whatever it is. Okay, so that's what a zone is, right? So it's usually associated with some primary type of use, right? And then sometimes with a minimum lot size. Okay, but there's four other important parts, count four parts to a zone that I want to explain. Okay, so we talked about the first one, zone type, right? That's the primary type of the zone. Okay, then there's three other things. The second one is what we call by right uses. So under California law, as a general rule, each zone will have some things you are allowed to do in that zone. You don't have to go ask for permission. It's what we call by right. Okay, so for example, if you have a single family home zoning, a residential zoning, you should be able to go down to the county and pull a building permit to build a single family home. You don't have to ask permission to do that. If you have an ag zoning, you can grow, walnut trees on your property without having to go down to the county or city and ask for permission. Okay, so that's what we call by right uses. Those are things you're allowed to do by right with your zoning. You don't have to get permission. Okay, the third part of zoning is what we call permitted uses. Okay, those are things that the local agency may allow you to do in your type of land use zone, but you got to go get permission. Okay, and that usually involves some kind of permit. You got to fill out an application, prepare a site plan, jump through some hoops, pay a little bit of money. Okay, and that use isn't necessarily always permanent. So if you violate the permit conditions, they may revoke your ability to have that use. So as an example, fairly common example is most residential zones will allow you to have a home-based business, but in some cities, you have to go get a permit for that, right? They want to know that you're not going to be like, building aircraft carriers or, running a house of prostitution out of your house. So there's rules there. So you got to get some kind of permit. That's a fairly typical example. Okay, so we've got the zone type, we've got by right uses, we've got permitted uses. The last part of a land use zone is all the rules, okay, that go along with that particular zoning, land use zone. Okay, so what kinds of rules? These rules include things like building setbacks, how far a building has to be from a property line, maximum building heights, how much of your lot can be covered by buildings. Another thing we see a lot in Central California is restrictions on where you can build depending on the slope, so they won't let you build on real steep parts of the lot. It could include other rules about environmental protections, so they won't let you develop near a river or creek. So there's a whole bunch of rules that go into each particular land use zone. Okay, so just to review, okay, a land use zone is a geographical area in which land use has to follow a common set of rules. Four parts of a land use zone are the zone type, by right uses, some list of uses you can do by right, permitted uses, a list of uses that you might be able to do if you get a permit, and then all the other rules related to how you use that land. Okay, those are the four parts. So now you understand, at least in California, what a land use zone is and why it's important. We will definitely talk some more about land use zoning. We're going to talk about general plans, specific plans, and we'll talk some more about these rules. Building setbacks, lot coverage rules, those kinds of things. So thanks for watching.